Tonight, a KGW investigation reveals there are sex offenders in our schools. We found dozens of students in Oregon's public schools that have been convicted of sex crimes.
They could be in the same classroom as your child, and you wouldn't even know it. Why? Because it is something that schools can't tell you. They are forbidden. KGW's Kyle Eboshi has been looking into this for months. He joins us now to explain. Kyle.
Tracy, through public records requests and in search of juvenile records, we've been able to compile data that's never been made public before. We've been able to pinpoint exactly how many juvenile sex offenders there are, and also pinpoint specifically which school districts they're enrolled in.
We send our kids to school trusting it's a safe place, knowing who's around them. But a KGW investigation found there are dozens of juvenile sex offenders in public schools throughout Oregon, and parents are never told.
I wouldn't want my son around somebody like that.
I'm not okay with it. I think we need to keep our kids safe.
Through public records request, KGW found there are 55 juvenile sex offenders attending public schools in Oregon. These young offenders are spread across the state in 24 different school districts. In Junction City School District, there are 5 sex offenders. The McMinnville School District has 6 students convicted of sex crimes. The Gresham-Barlow District has 10 juvenile sex offenders in classrooms.
If a parent comes to you and says, I want to know if there's a sex offender in my kid's class, can you tell them?
We are governed by laws that are on the state and federal level that protect student privacy. So we're not able to share that information. Any information about a specific student we are not allowed to release.
Parents and classmates may not know, but their teachers do in the Gresham-Barlow District, along with select staff. These young offenders are given specific rules called a safety plan.
It addresses where the student can or cannot go in the school, how their transportation is from home to school.
The Oregon Youth Authority, responsible for juvenile justice, reviews every case before allowing these young offenders to go to school.
Are these kids dangerous?
For the most part, they are not dangerous because they're not predatory. They're not looking for other victims.
The records provided by the Oregon Youth Authority don't reveal who these offenders are, what crimes they committed, or what specific school they are attending. In Oregon, sex offenses include a broad range of crimes, from rape to child pornography. These juvenile offenders are under the supervision of parole and probation officers.
Education is a really important part of the rehabilitation and reformation process for youth sex offenders.
But how about the other students? Shouldn't parents have the right to know if their kid is sitting next to a sex offender in class?
I absolutely think that we should have the right. You know, if they're in prison or in jail and they're coming to our area with our children, I absolutely think we have a right to know.
This balance between student privacy and public safety leaves parents in the dark. They have no way of knowing if there's a sex offender in their kid's class.
And coming up tomorrow, we'll continue our examination of sex offenders on campus with specific focus on colleges and universities. You may be surprised to learn sex offenders are not only attending class in colleges and universities, but they're also working on campus. That story coming up tomorrow. Back to you.
Thank you, Kyle. If there's a story or an issue you'd like KGW to investigate, just call the number on your screen or email investigators@kgw.com. And if you would like to know more about sex offenders on campus, just go to our website, kgw.com. We have more information, plus interactive maps and graphs that the school district with student sex offenders. Parents send their kids off to college, hoping for the best, assuming that it's a pretty safe place to learn. And in most cases, it is. But a KGW investigation found many college students are also coming into contact with sex offenders on campus, and they don't even know it. KGW's Kyle Eboshi has put together information that's never been made public before. And Kyle, you're here with the second part of your investigation.
Tracy, federal law requires very specific notification to police of any sex offender who is going to work at or attend a college and university. Problem is, that information is not widely available. It's hard to get. In fact, we had to make a special request of Oregon State Police to pull these numbers from its database.
Sitting in the heart of downtown, Portland State prides itself as Oregon's largest and most diverse university. And among that varied mix of students and staff, registered sex offenders.
Makes me feel kind of uncomfortable and a little eerie to know that they're allowed to be around us.
Portland State is not alone. A KGW investigation found there are more than 1,000 registered sex offenders working at or attending colleges and universities throughout the state. The University of Oregon has 14 registered sex offenders on campus. Oregon State University has 26. There are 62 sex offenders working at or enrolled at Portland State.
We're trying to be, bettering our education and trying to feel comfortable on a campus where we already don't know 30,000 people. So that's just, I'm really shocked that they would even allow sex offenders to be on campus.
The greatest number is at Portland Community College. PCC has 274 registered sex offenders on campus, and 2 of them are considered predatory, the most dangerous.
Is there any real oversight or monitoring of these individuals?
The law doesn't prohibit convicted sex offenders from attending a school. It just says that they need to notify the state. And I think, again, what's important is that once we receive that information, what do we do with that information?
PCC's Public Safety runs a background check on all sex offenders. The school also works with county parole and probation officers to make sure there are no restrictions, like where the offender can go or who they can be around.
I can tell you here at Portland Community College, we take it very, very seriously.
In Oregon, sex offenses include a broad range of crimes from rape to child pornography. Some offenders are higher risk than others.
If I attend one of these colleges or universities, can you tell me who these people are?
If you call with a specific name, then we can confirm whether the person is on the registry or not. But in regards to any general lists, no, we can't provide a general list of all offenders.
That means in most cases, college students can't see who these sex offenders are. If they have class together, they don't know where they live, what dorm, and they can't tell what kind of criminal history they have.
I would like to know, maybe, if there's someone that is in my class that has been registered as a sex offender or is a professor that's registered. I don't know if that would change my perception of them. It just might be good to know.
By law, sex offenders are required to notify colleges within 10 days of enrollment or employment. But that information rarely gets to fellow students. It's largely protected by state law and student privacy.
This investigation has already generated a lot of feedback. We've gotten your emails and phone calls. People are surprised to learn about the numbers, and some people feel we should do a better job explaining who these sex offenders are. Well, Monday, we hope to dig a little deeper, speaking to a sex offender who's attending college. We'll examine the balance between student privacy and public safety. And Tracy will also look at other states and what they're doing to deal with the situation.
Well, there are still a lot of questions ahead. Thank you, Kyle. If you'd like to know more about our investigation into sex offenders on campus, go to kgw.com. You can watch our first report on sex offenders in grades 12 through K. You'll also find interactive maps of all the school districts and colleges showing where the sex offenders are enrolled. And there's background information and all of the raw data that we collected. If you'd like to take a look on it, it's all on kgw.com. We all send our kids to school hoping they're safe, but a KGW investigation found there are sex offenders in our schools.
Last week, we told you how many there are and explained there's no way for parents to know which classroom they're in. But should they? KGW's Kylie Boshi has been looking at what other states are doing with this, and he joins us now. Kyle?
Joe, the challenge is there's a real balance here between student privacy and also public safety. Both sides make very compelling and strong arguments. Tonight, we'll introduce you to a registered sex offender. He's trying to turn his life around by getting a degree. On the other side, we'll introduce you to a rape victim who says parents have the right to know and assess the risk.
A KGW investigation revealed data that's never been made public before, showing there are 55 juvenile sex offenders in K-12 schools around the state of Oregon. Colleges and universities have more than 1,000 registered sex offenders working at or enrolled on campus.
That's a shock. I had no idea that a university would allow sex offenders to work where students are.
Student privacy laws don't allow schools to reveal who these sex offenders are, where they live, or what crimes they committed, leaving parents in the dark.
I'm not okay with that. Yeah, worries me.
Last year, legislators in Washington state tried but failed to pass a new law that would have allowed parents to know about dangerous sex offenders in schools.
Do I want to know the hidden potential dangers that are out there? You bet I do.
Daniel Tudor is a rape victim. She feels parents have the right to know who's on campus with their kids.
It's a crystal ball. Who is going to be the one to reoffend and who is not? And because we don't know, then you really have to err on the side of caution.
At Portland Community College, there are 274 registered sex offenders, including this student. We agreed to protect his name and identity.
Are you dangerous? I don't think I'm dangerous. I think I was 15 and stupid.
He was convicted of sodomy in 1998. Now 31, this sex offender is trying to get his life back together. He worries if outed, he'd be shunned by classmates and struggle to get his degree.
If the guy sitting next to you has a murder charge, you don't get to know. Why should you get to know if the person had a statutory rape charge 15 years ago?
Privacy is not an issue that should even be on the table.
This victim's advocate says the goal is not to put a stigma on sex offenders. Instead, notification would allow parents to assess the risk.
Any risk factor at all, I don't care if it's between 1% and 5%. That's too much. Do I want my granddaughter or my grandson exposed to that? Absolutely not. I want to know if that risk is there, and then I want to make the decision, do I want my child in that school or not?
There are dozens of juvenile sex offenders in our schools, and parents are never told. Ultimately, it's up to state lawmakers to find this balance between student privacy and public safety.
Our goal in doing this piece is to bring you information that had never been made public before and show you exactly how many sex offenders are in our schools. The question now is what to do with that information. Maybe nothing. Maybe the system works. On the other hand, maybe there needs to be some kind of change. That debate is going on right now on our KGW Facebook page. You're welcome to join in that debate and the conversation. We'll continue to follow up. Back to you.
Thank you, Kyle. If you missed any of Kyle's series of reports on sex offenders on campus, we have them all posted online at kgw.com. In Part 1, we look at sex offenders in K through 12. Part 2, colleges and universities. And you just saw we explored the balance between student privacy and public safety. We also have interactive maps, the raw data, and much more on kgw.com.